Okay, good night, everyone. Good evening, everyone. In my mind, it's still afternoon because we were supposed to start this program at 2 p.m. and we had to wait practically forever. But I'm happy that we are into it now, and I want to welcome His Excellency, the Consular General of Nigeria, South Africa, Mr. Godwin Adama. The last time we met, I was the welfare director. That was the first time you came to Durban, and today I'm being honored to just have a little talk. Okay.
Is it fire or something?
Maybe we want to confirm what that is. Okay. The topic I was given was to talk on, is WAZOBIA still relevant in Nigeria? Addressing citizenship challenge, citizen issues in Nigeria. And basically, when I saw the topic, the first thing that came to my mind was to look at the premise of citizenship issue. What exactly is the issue of citizenship in Nigeria? Recently, I submitted a paper to one of the international journals, and the title of my paper was Interrogating Coloniality on the Citizen Discourse, the Nigerian Experience. And I know it is 60 years of independence already, and then we are quick to say, why are we still talking about colonialism 60 years after independence? But this time, we have moved away from talking about colonialism to talk about coloniality. I'm sorry, I'll be as fast as I can, and I'll just be brief. Talking about coloniality. Coloniality this time is to look at the effects of colonialism on present day society, and in this case, present day Nigeria. And when we say we are still looking at the effect of coloniality on our citizenship question, we are also quick to say it is a blame game. We are still playing the blame game. Today I'm not going to be playing the blame game, but I'm going to say that for us to understand our problem, they say a problem that is known is a problem half solved. Sure. So first we need to investigate our problem, and basically that's what I want to do today. And it is very important for us to free ourselves from mental slavery, like Bob Marley said. Because if we are not freed from this mental slavery, we will continue doing the same thing over and over again. When it comes to the case of Nigeria, it is very important for us to understand that there was a nationalist idea for Nigeria, and there was the colonialist idea for Nigeria. And when it comes to the nationalist idea for Nigeria, the first thing that came to mind is the fact that the nationalists, that's our founding fathers, have the idea of a one Nigeria. That is what they wanted, a one Nigeria. And it was reflected in our national anthem. The first national anthem we had in Nigeria between 1960 and 1978. That was our first national anthem. The line here has, he said, Nigeria, we hail you, our dear native land. He said, don't tribe and tongue may differ. This is what I want you to pick. Don't tribe and tongue may differ, in brotherhood we stand. And then it ends, the item ends by saying, O God of all creation, grant us this one request. Help us to build a nation where no one is oppressed. These are very strong words. And then in 1978, we decided to change that national anthem. And the one we just finished singing now, the 1978 anthem, ends again with the same call. He said, one nation bound in freedom, peace, and unity. So the question we want to ask is, do we really have one nation? Do we have the premises of what the nationalists wanted? In essence, they wanted the premise of equality and equity. Equality and equity. And it was reflected even in the Constitution of 1999, the 1999 Constitution, Section 10, 11, and 14, Section 2, and as well as in Section 16, Subsection 2, in the 1999 Constitution. It talks about prohibiting discrimination of individuals on the ground of religion, socioeconomic status, political status, gender, or race. But the question is, what is the case presently in our contemporary Nigeria? What is the case? What we found is the reverse of the dreams of our fathers. What we see now is segregation, antagonism on the basis of tribe, religion, and origin. The premise of togetherness, after we have been together for donkey years, but still that is what it is. So that's the problem. So if this is our problem, so what exactly is our problem? Our problem itself is under the politics of who gets what, when and how. Who gets what, when and how. The premise of resource allocation geared around ethnic sentiments and ethnic consciousness. And it has breed situations whereby identities on the premise of regions and ethnicity is outweighs the identity as a nation state. So when we see ourselves, the first thing is, they introduce me now as Patrick Osia. I want to believe that most of us here, if not all, are victims of this premise. The first thing that came to your mind is that where is Patrick Osia from? Because that's the first thing we look at. We want to look at from our names, we want to know where we are from. That brings a discriminatory tendency in the Nigerian system. And then when you want to look at the history of Nigeria, how does coloniality comes to play in this case? How does coloniality come to play? Prior to 1914, during the colonial conquest, I know some of us we are familiar with this. I'm just reminding us. During the colonial conquest, we have the company that was referred to as the Royal Niger Company, and they practically conquered they amassed most of the area that we now know as Nigeria. And in 1900, something interesting happened. They transferred the ownership of Nigeria as a business deal. They transferred it as a business deal. Transferred it to the British government. There was a transaction between the Royal Niger Company and the British government. Guess how much Nigeria was sold? It was sold for £865. That is practically in contemporary reality, based on the exchange rate that we have now. I know most of us will do the exchange thing now. We are all below the change. Based on the present exchange rate at 25, it is about 18,479 rands. Nigeria was sold for 18,479 rands. And that is practically in Naira, 427,863 Naira only. That was what Nigeria was sold. So you know that it was a business deal between these people. And immediately in 1914, there was what we all popularly know as the amalgamation of the northern and southern protectorates. But you must understand that that idea of merging Nigeria was not because of the interest of Nigeria in itself. It was a British strategic interest. It was an administrative convenience of the British government to merge us together. And in as much as we were merged in 1914 and we became Nigeria in 1914, there was a conscious attempt by the British or the colonialists to ensure that there was little or no interaction between these regions. So little or no interaction was allowed. I'm a scholar, so I can't help it to pick some quotes. Akindele in 2000 said that 46 years after the amalgamation, that is 46 years, counting from 1914 to 1916, there was practically little connection between the north and the south. And when you have settlements based on migration, there's economic reasons and the likes, there was movement of people. When people from the south moved to the north, the colonial policy was arranged in such a way that they were not to be integrated with the indigenes within that particular state, that particular region they go. And that's why in the north we have places where we refer to as the Sabongari. Sabongari, in English that implies a new town, where people that are from other regions were to stay. And Mandani, a popular African scholar, also argued that within that premises of colonialism, what the colonialists created were two societies that were operated on two different laws. We have the indigenes being ruled by customary laws, whereby the non-indigenes were ruled by civil law. But Peter Eke also said the same thing when he talks about his argument on the two publics. So you realize that within the same society, two different laws are in operation. And there was special treatment, as it is, quote and unquote, for those people that were indigents. So what that created is that some certain members of the society that share ancestral linkage with that society, that particular community they found themselves, see themselves as indigent. And then those that don't have that ancestral linkage were seen as settlers or foreigners. And by implication, what it implies was resources were shared based on that format. This tradition was transferred to us even after independence. So, even after independence, this tradition was transferred to us, whereby settlers are now seen as intruders. They are seen as not native. So for that reason, they cannot enjoy some certain political powers. They cannot enjoy some certain resources within that particular society. And so what that implies is that as a Nigerian, you are in a particular location, but you cannot enjoy full citizenship in that particular citizen rights in that particular location you find yourself. That breeds the premise of discrimination among ourselves. And that also comes with, there are different issues that happen with that. There are different clashes that we have seen over time. You see the Shekiri Ijo crisis, you see the Just crisis, you see the Fulani Thief crisis, a lot. Contemporary, you talk about the whole Ruka Seka and everything that we talk, the Fulani and all that. These are some of the things that it has bred. And I am a victim of this, most of us are, whereby you have a situation of statelessness. There are Nigerians now that practically don't have a state. And what do I mean by that? In the place in which you grow up to identify as home, you are seen as a foreigner. And in the place whereby you are supposed, quote and unquote, to be your ancestral origin, you are also seen as a foreigner. Yes. What do we mean by this? Yeah. I am from Osun State, right? Or better still, my parents are from Osun State. I am a Nigerian, but my parents are from Osun State. I grew up in the north. In the north, I am seen as a Yoruba guy. So for that reason, some certain citizenship rights, they will say go to Osun State to enjoy those citizenship rights. Then when I go to Osun State, because now I'm back to my state, right? Then my fellow Osun citizens will tell me that you are a Boki, you are a northerner, so go back to the north. So what happens to a person like me? I become stateless. I am not in the north, I'm also not in the south. And a lot of us that have moved for one reason, migrated for one reason, can relate to this. This is the problem in which we have in Nigeria. And that is why some of us will be familiar with the popular saying of Awolowo in 1949, when he said Nigeria was just a mere geographical expression. It comes from this premise that we are yet to see ourselves as the same. And it goes back to where I started, when I said we look at coloniality. You see, when it comes to the arguments on conditioning, over time we have been told the same thing. And until we break away from seeing things that way, we will remain who we are. And for us to have the right notion of citizenship in Nigeria, we must, like Frank Fanon, break away from the shackle of the former. We must break away from the shackle of the former and demolish every existing structure to that ground. And how do we do that? We must now start seeing ourselves. We need to see ourselves first as Nigerian before you see yourself as wherever you are from. And the beauty of it, especially for us that are here, you realize that the further away you move from your ancestral space, the more united they feel we are. For instance, while you were still in Nigeria, you are from Osun, from Edo, from Akwa Ibom, from Aba, and the likes. But when you move away to this space, they see all of us as what? As Nigerian. When you move further away to Europe, you are no longer seen as a Nigerian or a South African. You are seen as what? An African. So the further away, this is what it is. So for us in Nigeria, we must consciously start seeing ourselves, and this for me is the way forward. We must consciously see ourselves as Nigerians first, before we see ourselves as any other space. And then there's a need for us to, like I said, consciously tell ourselves that we are bigger beyond the strategies of the colonial master, which was the premise of divide and rule. We must see ourselves beyond that, and we must consciously win the heart and mind of everybody. Thank you very much.